Ladies and gentlemen, it has been 3 to 4 months. Forget, like, there's a reason why I'm a streamer and not a mathematician. It's been X amount of months since we've had an official episode of the Cutline, but we are here at last. And for any of you who may be wondering why I didn't do one for the Daytona 500, it's because I was at the Daytona 500. Like, let's just say I wasn't planning on going to the 500. Like, literally, I was planning just to do my show. I was actually going to do the 500 like a live race play-by-play reaction. However, some opportunities opened up, and basically, I had a friend. He was like, "Oh, the 500's this week, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." Then he's like, "Oh, here's 2 free tickets. Happy late birthday." So I went with a friend. We had a good time, and that's why I didn't do one for Daytona. But we are here at last. First episode of the season is the Cutline, and joining me today for the first episode of this season is a man who joined me for the first episode of the season last year. You know him very well, especially if you've seen him on TikTok and on X. Ladies and gentlemen, while his icons may say Eric Estep, because I'm a little rusty, okay? It's been a while. It is not Eric Estep. It is my good friend, NASCAR Opinion. What's up, man?
Man, it's doing good. Just got wrapped up watching the race, and it's been a good start to the year. I myself trying to kind of get back into the NASCAR deal. Obviously, the last year or two, I was borderline of being really disappointed on some things. But I think it's been a good start to the year. I know we're going to get into it today about today's race. But, yeah, doing pretty good.
Yep, absolutely. And if, again, you guys who want to know how rusty I am, just look over there. Look over there. All right, it says Eric Estep. I'm a little rusty, okay? Cut me some slack. But, yeah, we are here, and I see some guys are in the chat already. Ross Chastain is a hero. Yes, he is indeed Skyline. We will talk about that. The improbable finally happened. Bubba was robbed with that overtime. He led at lap 260. Listen, you're preaching to the choir. I hate overtime. Overtime is stupid, so you're preaching to the choir. He has 5 career wins. If you ask me, this race should have been done half an hour ago. Agreed as well. And yes, Dash, Eric got short. Look, when we get next week's guest, we'll get back into the groove of things, all right? It's been a few months. I'm a little rusty. Of course, I did some streams during the off season with whether it's iRacing or talking about other stuff. But we're a little rusty, all right? So cut me some slack at least for this week. But if it makes you feel any better, if there was anyone who I would have compared Will to, it would be Luke Combs. All right, so I'm going to do something a little bit different for this year for the Cutline. I'm not going to go over every single part of the race because some parts of the race don't really need to be talked about. Like, I'm sorry, no one cares that Ty Gibbs and Josh Berry got into a wreck. Just sorry, it happened. No one's talking about it. But let me show you all the first thing that people are talking about that I've noticed, and that is my favorite driver. And before any of you want to clown him, your reigning, defending Cup Series champion, Kyle Larson, driving like he's driving for Rick Ware. Because, look, I have to show a little bit of unbiased. I have to show a little bit of being objective. So, while the Larson fanboy in me wants to blame SVG for this, this is all on Larson. Like, we're seeing it right here. I don't even know. I don't even know what he's doing. Like, I don't know if he just, like, we could go all the way up here. I don't know if he just got spooked by Reddick, drifted up high, and then I don't even know what Larson is doing. He wrecked himself. Took SVG. SVG pulled a Lightning McQueen at the end of it. But yeah, I don't know what Larson was doing. So, Will, we talked about it a little bit once it happened. Of course, our friend Johnny, he knows I'm a Larson fan, so he enjoyed this much very well. But what are your thoughts on the Larson wreck? Even though, honestly, there really isn't much to talk about, in my opinion. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. He just cleared himself and took himself out, nearly took SVG out. But what are your thoughts on the Larson wreck?
There are times where Kyle Larson showcases that he is one of the best race car drivers in the world. But then there's also plenty of times where it's like he has no regard for anyone else. And that was what happened today. I have no clue what he was thinking. if it was to win the race, as dumb as the move it still would have been, maybe you would at least made the argument at least trying to win the race. But for one, he wasn't towards the front, and two, it was the end of stage two. I just think Larson has these moments where I think Larson thinks he's above whatever he's doing. And that was one of those moments. It was a really dumb move. I don't care how many championships you've won. That's dumb. That's in a category of guys that, we all know there's a handful of guys in the series that you expect to make stupid moves at some point during the year. But he's adding himself to that list. It seems like every few weeks the 5 car just does something that you would never expect out of him.
Yeah, Dash, he was doing his best Corey Day impression. Well, that was exhausting. Glad we're not on a drafting track next week. Yes, we are at a road course, which would be a lot more boring, though Coda was actually really good last year. I did it in the S tier. But here's the thing about Larson, and you mentioned it, where, there are moments where he shows he's the greatest driver in the world. There are also moments where he shows that you're just wondering that there guys at your local K1 speed wouldn't even make this move. It is a very boneheaded move. But I've been seeing a lot of people on social media talking about this thing about Larson. You could get away with that in the previous format. Larson, he'd just have to win a race, lock himself into the chase, and then he'd be all fine and dandy. Now, do I think Larson is going to miss the chase? No. Barring injury or a suspension, Larson will make the chase. But keep in mind, back in 2024, well, maybe it might not be too fair to use this against him because he did miss a race. He missed the Coke 600. He missed the regular season championship by 1 point. 1 point nowadays is 15. So you have an increase in points for winning the race. And we talk about Larson makes a lot of these bonehead moves, but you could kind of get away with that in the previous format. You can't get away with that in this format. Now, contrary to the belief, Larson is arguably one of the most consistent drivers in the field. He had, I think, the most top 10s last year, and he had, I think, the third or second best average finish last year. But you can't have a lot of boneheaded moves like this now with this new format where points mean more than anything. Where there's 15 point separation between first and second. 25. Actually, no, 40 if the leader maxes out their points. So I'm not saying that Larson is going to miss the chase, but Larson, he's going to be competing for the championship. We know this. He's, in a lot of people's eyes, the championship favorite. But a lot of people don't have Larson as a championship favorite because of moves like this. And in a format like this, it's going to bite him more than ever. So, Will, I'm going to ask you this. With Larson's kind of habit of kind of going, kind of basically losing brain cells, for lack of a better term, in an instance like this, do you think this could come back to bite him later on, as we go deeper into the season for either the regular season championship or the chase? And will Larson have to kind of, for the first time in his career, really kind of bring it back a little bit? Because again, this is a guy who goes 120% all the time. Will Larson have to eventually learn with this new format, which, fun fact, he has only raced in a knockout style format with winning you're in. He has never raced in the chase in his entire career since being a Cup. This is the first time for him. Will he have to learn to kind of bring it down from 120 down to 100?
I think, in the grand scheme of things, not going to face too many problems because at the end of the day, the 5 team is still going to go out and win races. They're going to still put together good runs. But I do think when it comes to something like the regular season championship, I'm not going to be surprised if Larson's not really battling for that. Again, he's going to have more good runs than bad, but with points meaning what it is now, he does have to watch away, quote unquote, throwaway races. Back in the day, as of last year, you could throw away half the season. If you could win a race or two, you're going to be within the top whatever in points, and you're going to be in the postseason. Now, he was obviously never one of those guys. He was always top 5, top 10 in the point standing. So overall, I think Larson's going to be fine because those wins, we would have still expect him to win 3, 4, 5 races in the regular season. They're still going to boost him right back up. So to win the championship in the chase format, I'll be intrigued to see what he does. I think that's more of a bigger deal. Is at that point, you really can't throw away a bunch of races. We saw Jimmy Johnson would be so good in that stretch of races. We kind of learned back in the day with the chase, you can have 1 or 2 bad weekends in that final 10 weeks. But if you're Larson, you can't have 3 or 4 bad weekends. He's got to kind of regulate that. So overall, no. Do I think it's going to harm him in the grand scheme of things? No. But when it comes to the regular season championship, something to watch. When it comes to the finale and winning that series championship, if he's in the room, that'll be something we have to watch. But it's Kyle Larson. I think he'll still cut down on these boneheaded moves. He doesn't make too many of them, but he's got to watch out because you're going to be behind the 8 ball here early if you screw around and do something again crazy next week.
You see, Dash, this is Dash in the chat. This is what I'm worried about with Larson because, again, yes, he would have had the most points last year, but remember, the difference between first and second, I think, was only 5. Now you're talking 15. Reddick has already won back-to-back races. We'll talk about him in a second, but he's the points leader, and he's already got 110 points on the season. No one else, I think, has 100. But going back to Larson, do I think he'll be fine? Yes, I think he'll be fine. I'm a Larson fan. He's probably going to win. He could win Cody. He can win any race from here on out. My thing is, do you think Larson is capable of bringing it down from 120 to 110? Because we even saw it. When he was in the Indy 500, he was at 120. A lot of times last year, he has these moments where it's like, when push comes to shove, and Larson may not have the opportunity to go for 120. He has to settle for 100. Do you think he's able to do that?
I don't think he can. I think as he gets older, he'll naturally slow down a little bit as all drivers do. But I think Larson going 120 is what's made him Kyle Larson. I think if you try to cut him back, it's sort of going to kind of be like when Ross Chastain had to cut it back, and all of a sudden you're going to see a different driver. It's maybe not to that level. So, I think Larson is a racer. He's been in enough of these deals, and let's be honest, he's done enough of these boneheaded deals throughout the years where he learns to just go on to the next stage. I don't think if you're him, you can cut it back, because if you start cutting stuff back when you're not who you are, and who you are has won you 2 championships. So, could there be some moments where maybe he should be more like Chase Elliott, who we've seen as of this week, last week, make a little bit smarter moves? Maybe, but at the same time, Larson is who he is because he goes for broke. And, I think if you try to change that, it's going to look different, and you're not going to quite get the performance across the board.
Yeah, I agree pretty much on most of that. But again, I think he'll be fine for the most part. Moving on to the next big incident. So here we have Denny Hamlin, and just the big one that came off the turn 4, kind of like halfway through stage number 3. Oh!
Denny.
I mean, this one, I've seen a lot of people. This wreck wasn't talked about as much as I thought, but it's still a big wreck, so I feel like we still need to discuss it. Took out a lot of good cars. The 48 involved, the 88. Connor Zillage, I don't know what he was thinking. He just plowed through Alex Bowman for pretty much no reason, but he's a rookie. It's going to be a rookie mistake. I get it, but I mean, here's what I know. So I've seen people say that, look at the replay right now. So it really looks like Hamlin actually got, now, this replay that NASCAR put, it is the best in the world. It kind of shows the wreck as it's starting, not exactly what took place that caused it. But at least from my opinion and my point of view, it looked like Logano really just put Hamlin into the wall, and that's what caused this whole, that took out the eventual winner, the 45. Well, not really take it out. Took out the 71, the 48, the 88. Here's my thing, and I want to talk a little bit about this with Joey Logano. More specific, not Logano as a whole, but more just Logano at Superspeedway racing. Logano is one of the greatest plate racers out there. We know this. I mean, there's a reason why. I always say, for people who want to say that plate racing doesn't really require a lot of talent, I always say there's a reason why certain drivers are always up front, because it does require some semblance of skill. Logano is one of them. But like how we talked about with Larson, Logano always has a boneheaded move in him, especially at super speedways. And to me, that's one right here, where you see Logano, he gets into Hamlin, puts Hamlin in the wall, essentially squeezes him, and then it triggers a big wreck. Now, here's my thing. And Will, I want to ask you this. I mean, I just don't understand what Logano was thinking. I want to get your opinion as to what exactly maybe you think like Logano was doing there, because it's like, you're in the middle of the pack. You're in the middle of the pack. I don't even think you're inside the top 10 at this point. Why are you trying to block a run on the outside? A run that you're more than likely not going to block cleanly. Clearly it caused a wreck. But, I mean, what goes through, like, some of these drivers' heads, you think? Maybe, like, you're so good at a certain craft that you kind of think that you're just invincible and everything is going to work out your way. Do you think maybe that's kind of why like Logano is doing like what he? Because again, I just don't. I'm trying to think about why he would do this, and I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't have the replay right in front of me, but Logano has become one of those guys, and I think he even criticized somebody last week, and it was just kind of funny because Joey's been in the middle of a lot of these crashes we've seen throughout the years, and I think you get to a point where you think you're successful enough at something that you're instinctually going to make the right move, and that's just not always the case. But we see this every year. You think these guys would learn year in and year out. Maybe racing at the end of stage 1 isn't something you need to be doing. Racing that hard at the end of stage 2 isn't something that's really worth doing. But yet they still do it. We see this happen year in and year out at these races. And I think Logano's the prime example of that. Brad Keselowski still occasionally does something like that, where you'll make a boneheaded move going, you know better than this. And Joey's the same way. But I think there is a level of confidence these guys get, a level of comfort, and they settle in, they think it's going to work, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work. And then I guess they'll just try to play a little bit safer the rest of the race, but they'll end up doing it again down the road.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to talk about besides that wreck. I mean, yeah, it took out a lot of guys. Like, it took out Hamlin, it took out Bowman. Man, I feel bad for Bowman because this is a guy who did not win last year. A lot of people have him on the hot seat, so I think he ran into problems in the 500. He runs into problems in Atlanta, and Bowman is one of those guys where we have him. I personally have him making the chase, but he's a driver where a lot of guys, either they have him just barely making it, like around that 13th or 16th, or he's one of the first guys out. Will, let me ask you this again. Points being so good, so important now, with as rocky of a start that Alex Bowman has had, 2 DNFs, I believe, to start the year, and on top of that, he did not win last year. It's only race 2, so we can't really take too much into account, but I mean, if you're Bowman, you're in a contract year, you got to start figuring out something. And again, it's plate racing. A lot is out of your control. But I mean, am I overreacting with, kind of Bowman's, kind of pretty disastrous start to the season? Or are you kind of on the same wavelength that I am, where you're like, this 48 really needs to start clicking now?
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. You know my thoughts. I've not been a Bowman guy for years. He's always been the fourth wheel at Hendrick Motorsports. And when you even look at it today, I tweeted out early in the race, there's only one Hendrick car that's not in the top 5. Can anybody guess who it is? And it was an obvious guess of who it was. Now, the metric with qualifying, getting rained out and stuff, obviously did not help him. But we just see so much more speed out of the other 3 cars. And I get it's only been 2 weeks, but Alex Bowman is a guy that I don't think it's a guaranteed to win. And again, you've changed formats now. Last couple of years, if you could get that one win, you pretty much cured all your problems. That's not going to help you this year. He could go out. I don't know where he's at in points right now. I would imagine probably early 30s in points if I had to guess. Either late 20s or early 30s. They're probably not updated just yet, but I mean, if that's where you're at, even a win, even if you were to win at COTA, you're still only going to jump up to maybe early 20s, maybe a little bit higher than that, but you're still not going to break through. Is it time to hit the panic button for them? Of course not. I've always said when you're going off points, you really give it 5-6 weeks. That's when you really start looking at where you're at in the standings, because, 2 plate tracks and then a road course to start the year can be either disastrous for a team or a great way to kick off a season for a team. My thoughts on Bowman personally. We've talked about Bowman a ton over the years. I don't quite think he's the fit for the 48. That'll be a topic I'm sure you'll discuss somewhere on this show further down the road. But I don't hit the panic mode just yet if I'm the 48 team, but I'm with you that they got to show something, because if you get another 2-3 weeks down the road and you're still sitting late 20s in points, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, right now I'm looking at the standings. I don't know how accurate this is. It does have Reddick as the points leader, but he's only 12 above Logano. I don't know how accurate that is, because it only has Reddick with 58 points. So take these standings with a grain of salt. But I think Bubba's even supposed to be second in points also. Right now they have him listed.
Yeah, so those wouldn't be updated, because Reddick at a minimum would have like 90 points because he won.
Yeah.
So,
but these ones, Bowman is 36. I can't imagine with that red kid would be any better.
Right.
Maybe like up here, but yeah, like he's gonna have to pull something out of COTA. And
yeah, he has to go to COTA. I think he has to have a top 10, top 15, something to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, he needs to have some momentum. He needs to like just start generating some momentum. I'm not sure where he finished at Coda last year, but we'll look into that, for Coda's week. Speaking of which, so as you can see on your screen right here, it is the end to the first overtime where I feel like the theme for this show is boneheaded moves because 30-second points for Bowman. Thank you, Raging. And Caden, what is up? Caden Mobley Kelly in the chat. Logano didn't deserve his 100 rating on super speedways and that. Do not get me started on drivers or athletes having 100 ratings in games. The whole point is there's supposed to be no 100. But that's a rant for another day. I think I even ranted about that when NASCAR 25 was announced, but I'll rant about that later. So, like I mentioned before, the theme for this episode is boneheaded moves. If I didn't come up with the thumbnail or the title yesterday, I probably would have named it that. And I probably still could have. We'll worry about that later. Because the third thing that we're going to talk about, and the final thing we're going to talk about before we get into Reddit, is what is Carson Hocevar thinking? I respect Hocevar. I low-key respect Hocevar for this move. And let me tell you why. You can tell this man is desperate to win a race. Every time this man has a race-winning car, he just says, I want to win. He does not care how he wins. He just wants to win. Because this man, he saw the smallest hole of a lifetime. Wasn't a big hole, but he said, it's good enough. I'm just going to slot it 3 wide and then put Bell into the wall. Now, you know what the funny thing is, Will, about all this is of all the 3 guys who caused these wrecks, Larson, Logano, and Hocevar, you can make an argument these are the 3 biggest boneheads in the sport. Whether it's Larson, just having brain farts, whether it's, Logano at a super speedway, or it's Hocevar just being Hocevar. Because if there's one thing I was not expecting, it was Hocevar trying to take it 3 wide before they go into turn number 1. I did not have that on my bingo card. So I want to ask you this, as you're seeing right now the replay of him taking out Christopher Bell. We know Hocevar is a very fast driver. Spire locked him up until 2030. Hocevar believes in Spire. Spire believes in Hocevar. This is year 3 for Carson. At some point, we say this with all athletes and just people in general, you are who you are. If enough things happen to a certain point, that's just who he is. Kind of like how we said about Kyle Larson, he needs to bring it down from 120 to 100. Hocevar's like at 200 at this point. I think we could say, at least tell me if I'm wrong, this is just who Carson Hocevar is. This is the guy who is very aggressive and very much makes a lot of boneheaded moves. We've seen it catch up to him. A lot of guys in the garage, they don't really like him, but I mean, just what was he thinking? Like, I really have no other question besides what the hell was Hocevar thinking?
Well, I think the beautiful thing about Carson Hocevar is that the beautiful thing about it is Hocevar is relatable because you like him and you dislike him. Do you love the bold move? I mean, how many times have we all screamed that if we were drivers, we would take it 3 wide on the restart at Martinsville and dive into turn 1? Okay, because that's what you want to do, because that's how bad you want to win a race. But then when somebody actually does that and you go, what the hell was that guy thinking? I would have expected him to maybe cut it 3 wide to the top. I think he lined up on the top on that start. I would have maybe expected that. I definitely don't know what gap he saw. I mean, there was a gap, but that made Brad Keselowski pulling that on Jeff Gordon in 2014 look completely smart compared to what Hocevar just tried to do. And you like it from the standpoint of it shows you how bad this guy wants to win a cup race. And I think he makes that move because he knows which team he's with. He knows his organization, and he knows that he still has a long way to go. He doesn't have, he's not guaranteed to be in a position to win a race every week. He's going to have 5 to 10 opportunities throughout the year to actually win the race. And he's had 2 of them already. Last week, leading at the white flag in the 500, gets dumped. This week, you're sitting there on the front row with 2 laps to go. So he's going to do whatever it takes in those situations, and so far it's burned him. One of these days it'll probably end up working out. But the other side of that coin is you look at that and go, I understand why guys don't like him. If I'm Christopher Bell, I'm not cutting him any favors. You want to treat me like that because you don't know how to run up here. You don't know how to go out and just win the race. So you're going to do something stupid that's going to take me out of the race. So this is a beautiful thing for the Cup Series. The Cup Series needs this. It's aggravating at times, but we do need this character. We need that rambunctious young driver who's trying to figure it out. He's so close to finally winning. He's making a name for himself. I mean, I haven't been to a race recently to see what kind of crowd reaction he gets, but people have an opinion of him. They either like him or they don't like him. There's really not a lot of in between with him, and I think that's a beautiful thing for the sport. You love it, you hate it. It kind of depends on if your favorite driver's involved. But it definitely made it exciting. It definitely made another storyline for this race that's going to be talked about for weeks to come.
My thing with Hocevar, and I'm going to look at the chat reel, my boy Hurricane Hocevar, Bell, listen to this. Bell sure did get rocked by the Hurricane.
That's pretty good.
And then Raging brings it back, because apparently these two need to go back and forth. He said he got his bell wrong.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And there's no better chat than the Daily Downforce Discord, than the Daily Downforce chat here for the Cutline, which I guess is also the Discord as well. Which, by the way, everyone, I need y'all to do this before we move on. 1, like the stream. 2, subscribe to the Daily Downforce YouTube channel. Helps me out a ton. 3, join the Daily Downforce Discord as well. And 4th, because I decided to add it, check out dailydownforce.com for all sorts of great content over there. Shameless plug by yours truly. Finally, let's get on, and I've been waiting to see if NASCAR will finally post the video. They posting the burnouts. Here we go. So, Tyler Reddick goes back-to-back, first driver since Matt Kenseth in 2009 to go back-to-back in the first 2 races of the year at plate tracks, nonetheless. Reddick is very interesting. Obviously, we know he didn't have the greatest year last year. Went winless. Was bounced in the round of 12. Not a great year for Tyler Reddick as a whole. Winning back-to-back races, winning the 500, winning at Atlanta. We saw the publicity that Reddick winning the 500 got, mostly due to Michael Jordan more than anything, but Reddick still got his flowers. And Michael Jordan going back-to-back, you can see him on the screen right here. That also helps as well. Reddick is someone who, we talk about, he's like a franchise driver. I feel like, we have these franchise drivers, these guys you can really build the team around, and Reddick is one of them because he seems to find ways to win. Look at 2024 at Homestead, ripping the top to win that race. Daytona, I know Daytona, kind of the seas parted for him, but he still found a way to get by Elliott. Here in Atlanta, finally gets away done with basically only half a fender on the right side. And, 2311, I know they're a JGR line team, but they're not one of the big teams. They're not your JGR. They're not your Penske. They're not your Hendrick Motorsports. So, with Reddick going back-to-back, and Will, I know this is something we talk about a lot, where these big teams, they have such a stranglehold on the Cup Series. Yeah, you have Furniture Row, but they're like a JGR line team as well. When you have someone like Reddick going back-to-back, a 2311 going to victory lane for the first 2 races of the year, what do you think that does for the confidence of the organization as a whole? Again, they're not Hendrick, they're not Gibbs, they're not Penske, they're not one of these powerhouses. Meanwhile, you got kind of one of these A-, B+ teams in 2311 winning the first 2 races of the year. Again, talk about just the confidence that does for a team and kind of just going out and saying, we can go out there, we can beat these guys week in and week out.
Well, I also don't want it to get lost. I mean, you might as well look at these cars as Joe Gibbs racing teams. They're not, but, they're Joe Gibbs light. But for an organization who, I remind you, since December is 3-0, arguably, against NASCAR, when you consider they pretty much got what they wanted in the lawsuit. For 2311, I think it just gives you a new chapter, specifically that it's 2311 with the whole lawsuit and stuff that happened last year. To see Reddick be able to come out, go back-to-back to start the year, you win the 500. You clear everything that there was. I think it's definitely a confidence boost. We've seen Bubba look really, really good. Riley Herbst is Riley Herbst. No need to say anything else besides that. But you've seen their cars be good. I mean, Bubba. Some people are going to say Bubba kind of gave it away tonight. I don't really know if I'll go that far, but he made a move that cost him the race. But yeah, I mean, anytime an organization can start out like that, again, I hold it with a grain of salt because it is back-to-back plate races. I'm not a big fan of back-to-back plate races to start the year, but that's what we have. I still don't think you're really going to get a read for a couple of weeks. And what is it, Phoenix or Vegas, the first, kind of traditional race we're going to get? I'll wait till then to make it judge, but it's not going to hurt, right? To already have won 2 races to start the year. For Toyota, you've got to feel good. For 2311, you've got to feel good. And again, we can't act like there's not a major relationship with Joe Gibbs Racing. I think even if you're Joe Gibbs Racing, you look at this and go, okay, Toyota's got something cooking right now. I think it gives everybody as a whole a little bit of a confidence boost.
Yeah, absolutely. And, even Tyler Reddick himself, just the driver, he's in a contract year. We assume he's going to stay with 2311. They'd be fairly, lack of a better term, stupid not to bring him back. But, I mean, again, winless last year, all the personal things that went on with his life, even the controversy, because we had to have some kind of controversy, or the non-controversy, if you will, after the Daytona 500 with Michael Jordan and his son, even though Michael Jordan is basically that kid's uncle. So, just to see what Reddick has gone through the last, year and a half, with his family, not winning, the lawsuit, a lot has gone in the wrong way for the 45. Even last year, chances to win races gone wrong, like both Darlingtons, Michigan, for example. I think one of the road courses he had a chance and it didn't come through. And for Reddick to come out again, back-to-back plate races, take it with a grain of salt. Matt Kenseth won back-to-back races in 2009 and he missed the chase entirely. But this, I think, does a lot for Tyler Reddick just as a confidence booster. Like, Reddick is someone who, I think he already had that after winning the 500, but he is someone who I really think needed a confidence boost after everything that went wrong with him, last year, personal, career-wise, everything. He is someone who needed to go into this year with a fresh mindset and just needed a fresh set of confidence and to win back-to-back races. I think that does it. That's exactly what the doctor ordered for Tyler Reddick. So I'm happy for him. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. I think it shows the magnitude of what off the track can do to a driver. Because I'll be honest, until last week, I kind of forgot about the situation with his son. That was a major deal. But I think also the weight of the lawsuit. Obviously, your son going through some life-altering things is more important than a lawsuit. But let's not forget, there were moments in time where Tyler Reddick in 2311 were at slight odds because of the lawsuit things going on and contractual obligations and all that stuff. So I think it shows you, we think these guys don't get bothered by a ton, but when stuff's going on off the racetrack, it has a major impact on drivers because they're humans just like us. And I think the fact that his son, I believe, I don't have a health update, but I'm assuming things are fine there. The fact that the lawsuit and stuff is done and over with, and the fact that they pretty much got what they wanted to, you're able to come out here, start the year 2-0. I think no matter what, this is the best person this is helping is Tyler Reddick, which the field's going to have to watch out for because I think we all think Tyler Reddick at his top or at his top end can be a top 5 driver in this series.
And I mean, we've seen it just a few years ago. Made the championship 4, won a few races, won the regular season championship. I mean, guys, I know this is basically JGR Light, but do you know how rare it is to see a non-Hendrick, non-JGR, non-Penske car to be up there with the big dogs in the points consistently? Again, they're essentially JGR Light, but they're not. But he was going out and beating JGR. That's the key.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the race weekend rankings. It's been a while since we have done this. We got 3 races to rank, and if you guys don't know how this works, if you are new listeners here to the show, what I do here is I have 2 tier lists. One for this week's worth of races and one for the whole season as a whole. We did this last year, and we're going to continue it into 2026. And we will, because we weren't here last week, we will do the Daytona 500 races as well, except for ARCA, because I refuse to watch ARCA nowadays. Not refuse, I just don't have the time, or I honestly forget, because ARCA's promotion honestly makes me forget there is a race. But I'm going on a tangent. So, we got 3 races this week. We got Truck, Xfinity, and we got the Cup Series. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Coming in last place, I am going to give it to the Truck Series. And the reason I'm going to put the Truck Series in, actually, no, I'm going to put the I'm rusty, okay? Cut me some slack. I'm going to put the Truck Series at second. You know what? I'm rusty, okay? We're just going to show the list right here. So, I got the Xfinity race in last place. And really the main reason I got the Xfinity race in last is just because I didn't get a chance to watch most of the race because I was out, doing my other job. And unfortunately, I can't use the CW app because the CW app, they don't have the race live stream in real time. Who in the CW ever thought that was a good idea? I have no idea. Whoever thought that was a good idea probably shouldn't be working in media, in my opinion, at least in digital media. But by default, I got to put it in third. Number 2, I'm going to give it to the truck race at Atlanta. That was a pretty nice barn burner. I mean, Kyle Busch making the move at the end. There's a lot of moves happening throughout the race. I did catch the last few laps of the O'Reilly race, not Xfinity race, of the O'Reilly race. So those last few laps were very thrilling. And, when Austin Hill tried to make the move on Ross Chastain, and Ross Chastain went for the block, Austin Hill did this, Austin Hill did, it just didn't go right. Sheldon Creed winning alone, just that moment, should put this race at number 1. Because hell froze over in that moment. But I didn't get to see the other pretty much 85% of the race, so I'm going to put it at third. Trucks I'm going to put at second because I did get to see most of the race. It was a very good race, and Kyle Busch got his yearly Atlanta win. These I'm going to put the Cup race at number 1. I mean, the title of the stream says it. Dash is saying it as well. Trey saying it in the chat as well. Atlanta really is the best super speedway on the schedule. I mean, it is what, I'm not going to speak for you, Will. You'll talk about this in a second, but I feel like Atlanta or Echo Park, whatever you want to call it, is what we want super speedway racing to be. We want it to be that spread out, pack racing, but handling really matters. The driver makes a lot of a difference. You can have a run, you can take it, you can make that smart block, you can have those mistakes, you still get your spectacles if you're into wrecks. Atlanta, in my opinion, is the perfect super speedway on the schedule. Would I prefer they done it to Texas and not Atlanta? Yes, but the fact that we have this, I'm not going to complain either way. So I got the Cup race at number 1, the truck race at number 2, and the O'Reilly race at number 3. Will, did I hit it on the nail? Did I hit it on the head of the nail? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I would have to go back. I got to watch a little bit of the truck race. I got to watch a little bit of the O'Reilly race. O'Reilly race probably would have to be B tier, or the second one, I guess. Again, it's hard when you don't get to watch full of it. I was out of town doing some other things, so I was watching some of it, but I didn't get to lock in like I was today. Cup race, I would still probably give it number 1 though, just because Atlanta, I have my own issues with Atlanta, but the racing product we have right now it might be the most electric we have in the series. I need to go to a race there. I've been to old Atlanta. I have not been to new Atlanta. I'm about 200 miles away from there, so I need to go down there one of these weekends. But I would put the Cup race as the best race of the weekend as well. O'Reilly, I think I'd have to go back and look at the middle of the race. The finish is somewhat exciting just because you kind of have the Austin Hill situation where somebody finally didn't just push him to victory lane. And of course, got turned and all that kind of stuff. And then Creed finally getting a win. Truck race, I didn't get to see the finish of it. That's the biggest thing. I know Kyle won, but I didn't get to actually see it. So I would, if I had to guess, the chat would probably want you to flip O'Reilly and trucks, but I didn't get to see enough of them to confirm that for you.
Chad, what do you think? If objectively, would these get flipped? Well, I guess we'll find out once we look at the was it above or below the cut line for the races poll on a little bit on Discord. But that's what we got for the Atlanta poll. Moving on to the 2026 poll, not the 2025 poll. So, in a previous stream, I did put the Clash at C tier because I said the first half of the race was phenomenal. The second half of the race was god-awful, so you got to meet in the middle. So, we got to rank these races. So, the first one, we're going to get the race I didn't get to watch out of the way. Finally, I did this in the middle of last year. We're going to start this at the beginning of the year. I'm going to put the races I didn't get to watch in the didn't watch tier instead of putting it just automatically in C tier, excuse me. And that would be, ironically enough, that would be both the O'Reilly races. I haven't got a chance to see O'Reilly just because where they fall on the schedule. Saturdays, I'm pretty busy nowadays. And again, unfortunately, CW, if you're watching, please stream the races live. There's really no reason for you not to do that. So because of that, I haven't been able to see a lot of O'Reilly, but I have been able to see trucks because Fox, they actually CW, they actually stream the races live when you have the digital app. So they do that. Truck race at Daytona. Well, I thought I had it here, but I guess I didn't. I don't remember too much from that race anyway. I probably would have that in the B tier. I'll go back and I'll put that. As for the Daytona 500, you see, when you're at the race, I feel like it's always going to skew it a little bit just because you're at that track experience. You know, I was out there with a friend. You know, we got pit pass, well, not pit passes. We got infield passes. We had a very good time. And, of course, seeing that, just the craziness throughout. You know, when you're at the race and you see 2 and 3 wide, you don't really think about the fuel saving. You just think, wow, these guys are roaring around the track. Of course, on TV, looking back at the highlights, you know, I knew they were fuel saving. Even I could put 2 and 2 together where they're fuel saving. But the finish was thrilling at the 500. I had a good time. So really when it comes down to grading a race I've gone to, it really comes down to a lot about experience more so. Did I enjoy my experience, which I've yet to have a NASCAR race I didn't enjoy the experience at. So besides rain out races, so I'm gonna put in the A tier. I'm gonna put in the A tier again. You're kind of going off experience. You're not really going off too much about, because again, that's kind of what you have to do. So, and I have looked at highlights, so I'm gonna put that in the A tier. Truck race, I'm gonna put that in the C tier, but I'll put it above the Clash. And my rule of thumb for a lot of these tiers is C tier is kind of just, it may have been good, it may have been bad. The one thing in common, I'm probably going to forget about it. I already don't remember much about the truck race, therefore it's in the C tier. Obviously, I didn't watch these two. The Clash is in the C tier for a completely different reason, but at least it wasn't a complete disaster for trucks, so I'm going to put it above the Clash in the C tier. And I'll put the Atlanta race above the Daytona 500. I thought the racing was more thrilling. You didn't have to worry about fuel saving. Guys were moving around the field. Again, Atlanta is what you want out of a super speedway. I don't know if I'd put it necessarily in the S tier because you had a, number one, I'm not an overtime guy. Number two, you had a few too many just what was that kind of moments. So that kind of puts it off of S tier for me personally, but it is enough to go at the top of A tier. Well, what do you think? I got the 500 in Atlanta at the A tier. I got Trucks Atlanta in the C tier. We're going to say, because I swore I put the truck race at Daytona here, but it's not here. I would have put that probably in the B tier. And then we have, didn't watch for O'Reilly. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're pretty close on where it should be. You look back at the 500 and the 500 you almost have to take within context now. It's exciting this is 500, but let's be honest, it was kind of a crap show at the very, very end. But it felt like a better 500. I don't really know why. I guess maybe it just felt because it's like a new era of the sport. Maybe that's what it was. Today's race, though, I think you have to put it better than Daytona. So, yeah, I mean, I think today's race, do I think today's race is going to get looked back as like a classic, oh, I'm going to remember this race forever moment? Probably not, but I do think it was a very solid race. Very good. A lot of lead changes, a lot of excitement up front. You had just enough drama for me with the one overtime, or I guess really two overtimes. But you had a little bit of that drama, but it didn't get too stupid, I would say. Sometimes we have these moments where things just start getting stupid. And to me, you didn't get that. You had, I think it was 6 or 7 cautions. You kind of had the predictable big one, a couple of small ones. You had a little bit of perfect mix of everything, plus some crazy racing at the end, some bold moves, big runs. So, yeah, I will give it an A today.
All right, well, there we go, everybody. The 2026 Race Weekend Rankings poll post-Atlanta. What do you guys think of so far in the poll? Let me know in the comments. And you can follow your own poll. The link is in the description. And then take a screenshot, tag me in the Daily Downforce, and we'll share it, and we'll give you our thoughts. And before we head to, was it above or below the cut line, I want to read the chat real quick. Precinct 2 Reddick wins, no super team wins. Yeah, that's very interesting. RFK and 22311 wins. Let's see what else we got here. Dash Cup for 1. I know we talked about Atlanta. Cup for 1, O'Reilly 2, and Trucks 3. Raging Knuckles, O'Reilly 1, Cup 2, Trucks 3. I didn't like that the truck race finished early. That is right. It did finish early. I forgot about that. O'Reilly 100% above. Yeah, that we're going to look at the poll, and if there is even one on, which probably would have been Trucks, but if O'Reilly and Cup are not 100%, y'all, we're going to have a dialogue between us. Trucks at Daytona was pretty clean and had an amazing finish, A tier. Yeah, I probably would have put in the B or A tier. Trucks was the best last week. I agree. Daytona 500 was pain out of 10 as an Elliott fan. Let me tell you, where I was sitting, I thought Elliott had it in the bag. And if y'all want to know a little personal insight between, just how I am and just our relationship, Will knows this better than anyone. I love to trash talk. I love it. Even if I have no right trash talking, I'm still going to do it. Just ask Johnny. Johnny will probably be on the show at some point this year. You can ask him when he comes on. But I love to trash talk. So when part of being a trash talker is you don't want any of your friends' favorite teams or drivers to win. So when the Patriots made the Super Bowl, you already know I wasn't a happy guy. And Will wasn't a happy guy either, I know that. So when they got smacked by the Seahawks, then I was a happy guy. But when Elliott was up front, because I already knew Will was going to be like, who said he can't win? I thought he was washed. I already knew what was coming. So I'm like, please don't let Elliott win. Please don't let Elliott win. Please don't let Elliott. It's just the nature of being a trash talker. So when Reddick got by, I'm like, oh, Reddick. Now, I didn't want Elliott to get, taken out by, Riley Herbst, who we don't speak of, but Will, y'all can ask Will right now just how bad I am when it comes to trash talking. Because for real, that's
it's pretty bad. I mean, he trash talks football teams when his can't even make the postseason. So nonetheless, we'll leave that there. But yeah, I think the first message in the chat was like "screw Elliott" or something like that. And you guys were. I was at a banquet that I had to host for a racetrack, and so we were still getting to watch it, but I wasn't like sitting in my living room drinking beer locked in. And it was tough. But hey, my driver today, last week, he makes smart moves. A lot of people would be boneheads and have tried to block the 45 last week. He was smart. Unfortunately, he still got wrecked, but it felt good for a minute. Going into 3 and 4, I really thought there was a chance the 9 car was gonna get the Harley J. Earl, and it didn't quite happen.
Well, apparently Dash is also a Pats fan. He said Pats losing the Super Bowl was also pain out of 10. That's funny. So, let's wrap things up here with the was it above or below the cut line poll. This is exclusively on the Daily Downforce Discord, so if y'all want to vote in this poll, you have to go to the Daily Downforce Discord, join, and then join Race Reactions. I or someone else in the Daily Downforce Discord, it probably will be Raging Knuckles, will post it as well. So, the truck race, first off, was the truck race in Atlanta above or below the cut line? 6 of y'all voted, 83% voted for above, and 1 voted for on. I think I was the one who voted for on, because I thought the race was okay. But no belows, everyone agreed it was at least a good race. Moving on to the O'Reilly race, a whopping 14 of y'all voted, and a whopping 100% voted for above the cut line for the O'Reilly race. Did I spell O'Reilly wrong?
Oh.
O'Reilly. Auto parts. I'll take that over Xfinity. I don't think I did, but that's a rant for another day. And as you can see throughout the chat, y'all were talking about it in the chat. We mentioned it in the chat. Yeah, O'Reilly race. I wish I got to see more of it, but all of you said it was good. I didn't vote on it, but I would have agreed. Above the cut line, 14 of y'all voted, 100%. I believe that is the first 100% of the year. Raging, you are kind of like... Raging, you're like my... So if you guys want to know about Raging, he's also in the Daily Downforce Discord. You see him in the chat as well. We started a project this year where we are going to track every above or below the cut line poll, and we are going to then make an average as to what the whole season was like for each series, NASCAR as a whole. So I believe this is the first 100%. Raging, correct me if I'm wrong, if any of the previous races throughout the week, throughout last week was like that. And then finally, we will go on to the Cup race, which we'll have to jump to the present. I don't know why it's not popping up, but it should be somewhere here. Now, I know for a fact I posted it. I know for a fact. Yeah, here we go. Was the Atlanta race above or below the cut line? 15 of us had voted, and 87% voted for above, and 13% voted for on the cut line. I'm guessing those two ons were, let's say they may be hosts of our fans. Let's say that. So, overall, a very good week of NASCAR racing according to the community. No one voted for below, interesting enough. Raging voted for on. But I think that might be a first for a week where no one voted for below the cut line. Everyone voted for either above or on the cut line. So, I mean, Will, I know we talked about it. We don't like the idea of Atlanta being a super speedway, but at this point, I feel like it's kind of hard to argue that. I mean, this is a damn good racetrack.
Yeah, it's my frustration has always been that really it felt like doing what they did to Atlanta 2-3 years ago was kind of like quintessential NASCAR at that moment in time, where it was, instead of fixing real problems, we just manipulate things to mask those problems. So I've always been frustrated for the fact that we literally took Atlanta and modified it to be a plate track because it was the only way to get the new car to look good at Atlanta. Now, being that said, I don't think we ever even got a next gen race on the old Atlanta. Maybe we did. If we did, we got one. But I don't think we did. So at the time, it felt like you were grasping for straws to purposely manipulate and manufacture a certain product. Now, is that true? Yes, it is. But there's no bones about it. If you can't sit back and look at those races or these races we've had in Atlanta the last few years and say, man, these things are damn exciting to watch, you're lying to yourselves. While I'll kind of sometimes do it while I'm gritting my teeth, it's a good race. I mean, I want to go to it. Today's probably been the most I've let myself just enjoy it because they're not going to go back. And right now, Atlanta's the best super speedway product we've got. The other ones are just so full of fuel savings. And here, while it's still unpredictable, it feels like you can still kind of control your own destiny a little bit more than the other two tracks. So while I don't like the idea behind it and what originally this new format and layout was supposed to be, it's become electric. I mean, I swear to you, it's the most on edge of your seat racing we see all year now. With how tight these windows are, with how tight the pack is, with how quickly you have to make a move. You don't see anything else like it the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I mean, I want to go. We're going to the 600. We should have gone to Atlanta.
Hey, there's still a race in July.
That's true.
I have to check my racing schedule. My racing starts this week at my local track, so it's about to get busy for me.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to do it for us here, folks. But now I know Will is not, guys, I hate to break it to you, Will is not Eric Estep. He's not Eric Estep. He may be Luke Combs in secret, but he's not Eric Estep. So to clarify that, we have his Twitter up here, or his X account, up here. NASCAR Opinion. You guys know what to do anyway. Go follow Will on his social medias, whether it's Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, TikTok. It's the same. It's the same on NASCAR_opinion. But other than that, Will, thank you so much for coming on. And Will, what can we expect from you in the future?
We'll continue, as most people give me on my Twitter page, we'll continue being bad opinions on NASCAR, even though I feel like I've been right about a lot of things the last few years. And I'm trying to be positive. Last couple of years, I got really out of tune with it. I was really, really frustrated. And there's still a lot we got to fix. I feel like the sport is heading in the right direction. I think we've had back-to-back decent races to open up the year. Today was pretty damn good. We'll see what Coda gives us next week. But other than that, hey, if you're up in the upstate of South Carolina or in the Carolinas, come check us out, Anderson Motor Speedway. That's where I'll be announcing races this year. Also, if you're a sprint car fan, the Carolina Sprint Tour, we'll be doing social media for them. So come check us out if we're at a local track near you, or come hang out with me at Anderson Motor Speedway. Other than that, we'll be watching NASCAR racing.
I went to Anderson last year for the Cars Tour, met Dale Earnhardt Jr., my all-time favorite driver. It was an amazing experience, but kind of taking that aside, Anderson is a banger of a little racetrack right there. The surface is worn. The drivers are really hustling it, and Will, he does a great job over there with the social media, getting the crowd excited, getting Anderson out there. It's a great track. Will does a great job. So if you guys are up there in South Carolina, head to Anderson Motor Speedway. Take it from someone who went to Anderson just a couple months ago. It is a hell of a time. But
hey, we're ready to have you back.
Hey, I might have to come back. Hey, I might have to. But that's going to do it for us here, folks. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. The first episode of the Cutline for this year. We will be back next week for COTA. Yeah, COTA is next week, so we will be back next week for the COTA episode. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, before you go, please, for me, like this stream, subscribe to the Daily Downforce YouTube channel. That would help me out so much. And check out dailydownforce.com for all sorts of great content over there. Whether you want to read some articles or you want to get some merch, head over to dailydownforce.com. It is one of the best ways you can help me out. But that's going to do it for me, folks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you next week for COTA, and we'll see you then.